Welcome back to Charlotte. I'm Ed O'Keefe of the Washington Post. We're joined by Congressman Chris Van Hollen of Maryland, the ranking Democrat on the House Budget Committee, and soon to be the stand-in for Paul Ryan in the debate prep with Vice President Biden, right?
That's right.
Now, what does a guy do to get ready for debate prep? How do you prep for debate prep?
Well, that's a good question. Look, I sit next to Paul Ryan every day in the Budget Committee. We get along well personally, but we have very sharp debates on the issue. So I know how Paul makes his arguments. The Vice President's very familiar with the budget and all these issues. I'm familiar with how Paul Ryan often frames the issues. And so I think I've just got to make sure I get all the other aspects of it right.
We noticed last week, of course, Ryan was knocked a little bit for stretching the truth or perhaps using some falsehoods in his acceptance speech at the convention. Since then, he's been knocked for inflating his marathon finish times. Are you aware in your discussions with him of him sort of stretching the truth on a regular basis, or is it part of a pattern, or is this just sort of something new, perhaps as part of the presidential campaign?
Well, I would say if you look at the Ryan budget, the Romney-Ryan budget, it is based on funny math. And so in some ways, that budget has been able to exaggerate and distort the truth for a long time. And what's happened is that's being exposed. So now we have marathon math that was applied to the budget.
Your leader, Nancy Pelosi, today suggested that Democrats can now win 27 seats that would take you just over the majority mark in the House. Is that an assessment you agree with, and do you have any sense of where those seats are?
Well, there's no doubt that Democrats will pick up seats in the Congress. There's no doubt that the momentum is going with us, particularly since Paul Ryan was added to the ticket, because what it does is focus very starkly on the Romney-Ryan plan, and every one of these Republican members voted in lockstep with the plan. So a lot of them would like to run away from it, but they really don't have that choice anymore.
Is it possible this year for Democrats to win back those suburban seats they lost 2 years ago? And if so, how do they do that? What messaging maybe has to be used, or what kind of candidate is going to be able to do that?
I think we can for this reason. Those voters are sort of independent voters. They look at the issues, and on the Republican side, they're seeing two things. One is very extreme positions on social issues. These are not, extremists on social issues. And on the economic issues, they're going to see a Romney-Ryan plan that's totally uncompromising, that refuses to take the balanced approach that bipartisan commissions like Simpson-Bowles have taken, which, despite what he implied the other night, of course, Paul Ryan voted against that bipartisan plan. The president's budget plan adheres much more closely to that idea of balance.
Who is your favorite Republican?
Well, that's a very good question. I'd have to look.
Who's the one besides Paul Ryan that you work with closest, perhaps?
Oh, I go back to I worked for Mac Mathias of Maryland. Mac Mathias was a United States senator from Maryland. When he was asked that question, he said, "I go back to the fact that we're the party of Abe Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt." That was a very different Republican Party. Those were Republicans who were not extreme on social issues. In fact, they were some of the pioneers of the Civil Rights Movement, those individuals. Right. But that's not the Tea Party Republican Party of today. So these guys are uncompromising. There are a few voices from time to time who talk about the need to make tough decisions for the good of the country, and I applaud them when they do. I mean, Jeb Bush, despite his statements at the convention the other day, when he was in front of the Budget Committee, he said he would not sign the Grover Norquist pledge because he didn't want to essentially contract out his vote and judgment.
Well, Congressman Van Hollen, we appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
And we'll see you back in Washington when we all get back there.
It's good to be with you.
All right,
Thanks
take care.
for having me.